Greetings and salutations of peace. You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time we call it the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. I am your brother Rastafari. I tall Ayman I. We will use the model reggae music here that you understand the science of inspiration. Ones who are old enough to remember in the early days of the Rastafari movement, let's say the 1980s, the early days of reggae music, it was a vehicle that carried a spiritual message called Rastafari. It was a carriage, the reggae music was. We heard of the Naya Benye. First, I will say that the Rastafari movement coming from the island of Jamaica was basically symbolic. The reason I say it was symbolic is due to the fact that it was a seed placed by the winds of time. Within that seed was a formula for the redemption of the black man throughout the world. Reggae music coming from the island of Jamaica via the Naya Bengi drum bounced across the Atlantic, touching down in the state of Florida. The seed of Rastafari produced a tree. The word of the gods is the fruit of that tree. I am your brother, the Rastafari. I tall Ayman I. We must understand the science of inspiration. In the early days, the dance hall days, when we would go to the dance hall and we would listen to the music, it was as if though we were having church. Yes, and if we look over to Haiti, studying the Voodoo religion, when the spirit possessed a participant of the holy rites, there would oftentimes be expressed, especially in the American form of the voodoo, of the path to the gods, when the spirit touched a person, they began to dance, they began to move. They call that riding my horse. The initiate would oftentimes cry out, riding the horse. This is the spirit of the skank, the holy dance of the Rastafari. When the spirit of the music hit the feet, the legs, the heart, and the head, the Rastafari would move. This is symbolic of the Hogan, the Doga, and the Voodoo. The priest would start to dance. And this dance was a spiritual dance. It incorporated the martial arts, yoga, and all of the sacred sciences came from our spiritual science. In the dance hall, we heard the message in the music. It was spiritual. It was spiritual in those days before the advent of rap. You are now in tune. Only one, the force itself. At this time, we call the Holy Master Blaster Jevin. I am your brother, the Rastafari. I told I am an I. There was an album in the early days by one of the players, Bonnie Whaler. It was called Black Heart Man. This is the foundation album of the movement. In this album there was a song called In the song, the lyrics of the song says, and all the musicians and players upon instruments would gather at his feet. This was a prophecy of what we speak of currently as the Master Blaster Jamming. Now, what is the Master Blaster Jamming? We must go back to the Nyabingi. In the Rastafari lore, in the liturgies of the Rastafari, the word Nyabingi was said in the earlier days to mean death to the oppressors, both black and white. So basically, the death to, or the annihilation of, not by violent annihilation and not by violent death, but the ridding of an oppressive system of control known as psychological slavery. So that's what the Nyabingi symbolized. In the Congo, there was said to be a queen who ruled the Congo by a certain drum. She had the science of the drums, and she ruled the Congo by the science of that drum. So the Nyabingi of Jamaica was said to inherit that energy or inherit that science due to the fact that this queen invited the Emperor Haile Selassie to be over that order Nyabingi. So with science of the drum, healing and killing and making happy, bringing down thunder, lightning, earthquakes with the drums. I don't know if there are ones in Jamaica who possess the powers or the keys to the drum that they can beat the drums and cause the sun to shine, beat the drums and cause rain, and this type thing cause earthquakes or heal or kill with the drums. I have no knowledge of that. But what I do know is that it was symbolic of something that would come. First, we would look at the Islamic faith. The faith of peace. Islam means peace in Arabic. There is one called the Muazzin, who cups his hands and put his hand behind his ear and make a call to Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And this is a call to prayer. Everyone, each side of this man calling to prayer, form a line, regardless of spiritual station, regardless of social stations, whether he's rich, poor, black, white, blue, green, yellow, from Mars or ship Earth. This call is for all. A call to prayer. He asks God in honesty to protect him, to provide for him, etc. An honest prayer to God, the Adhan. Basically, it's called, starts early in the morning. But in the masjid, when this prayer is called, all the line up, it was symbolic of everyone coming together, and the muazzin. So, in that respect, the Master Blaster Jamming is that final call. The Master Blaster Jamming is that call to prayer that we cry out to Allah, the gods, who made a promise to us. And in the Quran, it says that that promise is binding. So, the Master Blaster Jamming is that call to prayer. In the early 80s, Stevie Wonder did an album called Hotter Than July. And if we would notice, July, Hotter Than July, symbolizes the hotter days of July called dog days, when Sirius aligns behind our sun. You are now in tune. Only one, the force itself of this time, we call the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. And in the song Master Blaster Jamming from the album Hotter Than July, which symbolizes the dog days, hotter than July, Sirius, from July until August, the hotter days of summer. Lyrics in the song Master Blaster Jamming says, when you're moving in the positive, your destination is the brightest star. The brightest star of the heavens is Sirius, the Egyptian dog star. You are now in tune. Only one, the force itself of this time, we call the Holy Master Blaster Jamming. So, in the song of Stevie Wonder, in the album, another album, Secret Life of Plants, the song up of Portolo, the small star rotating around the brightly shining star, every 50 years or 49.9 years. And the Dogon says every 60 years they celebrate that rotation by their Seagull Feast. So, Noah was 600 years of age when the floods came. He cried for years, but the floods did come. So every 50 years or 49.9 years, the small star rotates around the large star Sirius. Every 50 years, as the science states. And then on the 60th year, every 60 years, the Dogon celebrate that. They say they do that to renew the earth. So then when Noah was 600 years old and the floods came, the earth was destroyed. So we have on earth rituals that shadow or that simulate or act out the movements of the stars in the heavens. You're now in tune. Only one, the force itself of this time. We call the Master Blaster Jamming. I am your brother Rastafari, Atal Ayman I, founder of the Underground News Network and coordinator of the Wonder Project. So, in the Bible days, there was no word for poets. So the word prophet was used. Not that they were prophesying anything or they were broadcasting anything about the future. They were writers making statements, maybe journalists. Saul, I believe, was walking up the stairwell there with a group of musicians, and he played out of tune. So it was written in the Bible that an evil spirit came over Saul. But what it was, he played out of tune. So I am depicting the meaning of prophets in the Bible. It meant poets. So Saul was known as a prophet, but he was a musician playing on the psaltery. So, Jaja say, all the musicians playing instruments will be there at his feet. So if we understand inspiration, the breathing in is inspiration, is life. Breathing out is expiration, is death. So when a poet or writer becomes inspired, he has breathed in the finer particles of the air, and ether. And on the ether is the word of the gods, messages sent down to us. So we say, oh, and then we become inspired and we write. That's a prophet. In the African American spiritual system, Nuwabu, or the Kabbalah, we have major prophets. Bob Marley, the initiator who passed the esoteric message to Stevie Wonder through inspiration. Bob Marley, Stevie Wonder, Frankie Beverly of Maze, Maurice White, Earth, Wind, Fire. You are familiar with these brothers' music. You understand what I am saying. George Clinton of Parliament, Funkadelic, Mothership Connection. Frankie Beverly wrote a song called Right on Time. And he explains that how can another know what's on your mind when you become inspired? Some people will say, God didn't tell you to do that, but you keep persevering, and in due time, enough will come to pass, and people will see that you're right on time. And when the music gets to the point of right on time, you hear a ship, then he goes into reggae music. So he understands this, and if you know his early albums, he spoke of Khalil Gibran, the prophet. So this message is esoteric in the work of Frankie Beverly, based main song, Right on Time, which was a prophecy or a message of confirmation to me in the early days. So we have Marvin Gaye, one of the major prophets that's no longer here with us today. Marvin Gaye wrote a song called Praise. And in that song called Praise, from the album In Our Lifetime, notice In Our Lifetime. And on the album cover, In Our Lifetime, you can see spaceships in the background. Armageddon, you can see it in the background, the smoke, the fire, and all the calamities of the world. And Marvin is sitting up there looking at himself. And in the song called Praise, there's a line in the song Praise. Stevie Wonder, praise him. Check the song out. It's called Praise. So he is indicating in our lifetime there's one we call Logos Circle 7, Stevie Wonder, who carries the vibration of the Nyabingi. You're now in tune. Only one before us itself at this time we call the Holy Master jamming. Speaking of inspirations, which encompasses the ancient science of soul travel, in the year 1974, Stevie Wonder with his cousin was going to a concert in, I believe, Durham, Carolina. And a log from a Pope wood truck hit him in the head, or they ran in the back of the truck, and he went into a coma. His soul left his body and went back. The Anunnaki programmed him, so he's in a coma for days. So one of his partners came in and sung the song Higher Grounds in his ear, and he started coming back. He was called back by that song Higher Grounds. If you know the song Higher Grounds, you would understand what I am saying. And when he came back, he was programmed. So in his music was that esoteric message from the constellation Sirius. In Holy Quran, Surah 53, the star El-Najma, verse 49, and he, Allah, is the Lord of Sirius. You are now in tune. Only one before us itself. For this time, we call the Holy Master Blaster jamming. I am your brother, the Rastafari. I told Ayman I. Yes, I am. So, we see the Lords of Time spoke to us through the music. In the year 1930, the Emperor Haile Selassie I was crowned the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering lion of the tribe of Yehuda. In the same year, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through the mystic Farad, the Nation of Islam, and the Rastafari was born in the same year, 1930, two redemption movements for the black man in the wilderness of North America. The Nation of Islam and the Rastafari movement. Habakkuk 3, the holy man, and the God, Haile Selassie, the holy man being Elijah Muhammad, came from Mount Paran, I believe the scripture says. This was the redemption movement of the black people in America who had been in slavery for about 200 and so years. Well, these two movements came to redeem the black man in America. So, out of the Rastafari, the Rastas, or the beings that follow his imperial majesty, it was a world. They are a world created unto him through his subtle majesty. The Emperor Haile Selassie I created the world of Rastafari. We are his true subjects, created by his subtle majesty. So, George Clinton, in his song, This Is the Way We Funk With You, knows the nursery rhyme. I know a lady that lives on the hill, she won't, but her sister will. Nursery rhymes. Mary had a little lamb with fleece was white as snow. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. So think of Aesop fables, the old Ethiopian fables. This is the way we funk with you. This is the way the Anunnaki speak to you. This is the way that Allah speak to us through the music in this time. Yes, I. So, we say, we are now in tune, only one, the force itself of this time. We call the Holy Master of Blasphemy, jamming, speaking not rhetoric, but a simple science. The Black Kabbalah, the African American Kabbalah, or Malachi York hit upon Nuwabu, the Ethiopian spiritual science, the black man's spiritual science. Right information. Information, right information. Information, right in order. Nuwabu equals right information, sound, right reason, understanding. Information placed, right information. So we start in the year 1930, the timeline of the two movements. Note, in the year 1975, both these men was reported they had died. 1975. Started 1930, ended 1975. So you see, there's a commonality, there's a synchronicity. We have something in common with the Nation of Islam in America. We have something in common with the Muslims all over the world, with the mystics all over the world. Rastafari is Lord of Lords and Savior. So there are ones awaiting the Messiah. He's already come. So, the teachings of the Rastafari, I told Imanai, is the answering of the gods, or the answering of the message that came through the music. It's a return. It's like it was a science, call and response. The gods sent the music, sent the message through the music. I told Imanai deciphered the music, not really deciphered it, was the word was in me, so I understand it. It comes from the ancient science of soul travel. When you come here programmed, your DNA is programmed, so you're the man for the job. I am the coordinator of the Wonder Project, which is now at 33 years of age. So we're just not out here with rhetoric, as most times we hear. people making money off of the wisdom, but there was a purpose for these movements. As Bob Marley said, we free our people with music. Notice that Malcolm X didn't fulfill his mission. All the violent people did not fulfill their mission, and Malcolm could have did it, but the gods didn't want him to do it. Believe me, I know a pretty good bit about Malcolm X, and he was the most powerful black man to ever hit orb-ship Earth. As a matter of fact, he had an audience with Chairman Mao of China, and the government until this day want to know how did he set that meeting up. And so he's a very powerful man, and there are things in history that we didn't get. So this is the half of the Rastafari that has not been told. And I've been teaching this for the last 30-something years, ever since we had access to the World Wide Web. My website is now compromised, but in the year 2001, we formed the Underground News Network, which was a foundation for this wisdom that I am speaking. And most things you hear concerning the Bureau and Master Blaster jamming and the higher sciences of the planets was highly studied by many people through cyberspace. Even some of the scientists I've noticed was studying my site. The government was studying my site. So it's now has been compromised by hidden forces. So there's the power of this information that you have been privy to be a part of, coming from the Rastafari movement, the science of the Rastafari movement. Bob Marley said, we free our people with music. So the science of our redemption is in the music. It's called the Master Blaster jamming. We need to study that, get off the violence. I was speaking to my brother Vaughn Benjamin a few weeks ago, and he made it clear to me that black supremacy, white supremacy is not the answer. It's about love supremacy. So that's my view on it also. It's about love supremacy. I mean, we know the truth is in our DNA, so we don't need to spend any more time with the rhetoric talking about the white man did us like this and the white man did us like that. It's a reason for everything. Now, since we know the truth, now, as Third World say, now that we have found love, what are we going to do with it? We have been educated. We know we were slaves. We know black people was here before Columbus came. We know all that. We know we come from the Bureau. We know all that. So we have found love. We found God. We found ourselves. So what are we going to do with it? It's time to stop talking. Let's implement this science called Master Blaster jamming. Remember Woodstock? A few Jewish entrepreneurs got together and great thinkers, and they came up with Woodstock, which was during a time of social upheaval, a time of war, just about like it is now when the government was doing everything. So there's a statement like coming through the brother John Lennon, give peace a chance. So the Woodstock, the cultural event was on a certain level. Now we have reached higher ground, more spiritual level. We have more understanding now. We have more information now. So we have reached the higher grounds. So it's time for us to come together again on a higher level with the Master Blaster jamming. This time with giving effects. We'll call out to the gods to save us, and that implies a whole lot of stuff. But there was a symbol in Woodstock. There was a sign. Woodstock itself was a symbol, but the person that opened Woodstock was Richie Havens, who I had an opportunity to meet before he passed away. Richie Havens, he started off the show, a black man, and at the end of the show, Jimi Hendrix, a black man, he ended the show. There was a reason for that. You're now in tune. Only one, the force itself. This time we call the Holy Master Blaster jamming. I'm your brother Rastafari. I hope I have enlightened you somewhat on this issue of Master Blaster jamming and the effectiveness of the Rastafari movement. All praise is due to the Prophet Bob Marley and the God, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, coming directly from the Holy Mothership, coming directly from the lineage of the lineage of the Anunnaki, Empress Menen, coming directly from the lineage of Muhammad. So we see Islam and Christianity is one through the union of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I and His Empress Menen. I am your brother, the Rastafari. I told I. Yes, I am.